Hey,
What's going on?
oh my goodness! All right, I'm just trying to get. I'm famished. I'm trying to. I got home and I grabbed a handful of Triscuits and now I was rushing out. I had to get the kids set up. I got ain't nothing like turning on. I had to start a fire. I had to. They wanted to watch a movie. I had to get them set down in a movie. The 3-year-old and the 4-year-old. I said, "Okay, guys, I'm going out to the classroom. I want to do a podcast." And I was like, "You guys sit here." And so I turned on Venom: Let There Be Carnage for them because that's what they wanted to watch. I guess great movie for those kids. I got. But
Sounds like
I
fun.
haven't eaten anything all day.
All day?
I'm gonna munch on some of these Triscuits real quick. Yeah,
You don't take lunch?
no, no, I'm a
What?
hard worker.
It must be an Aaron thing because Aaron, the guy that I work with, he we were just talking about that today actually about how he doesn't bring lunch, and occasionally he'll go buy lunch, but usually he doesn't eat anything. He was saying out like he said he eats really breakfast ever or lunch, and he'll go home and eat dinner. That's about it. And I'm like, I don't see how you do
That
it. Breakfast, lunch.
sounds about right.
Sometimes I don't eat breakfast, but 90% of the time I do that and lunch and dinner. I don't miss a meal.
Yep, it must be an Aaron thing because generally it's couple of cups of coffee in the morning, to go cup of coffee, and I sip on that till I don't know, 11 o'clock.
Really?
And I drag that out till 11. Yeah, and then I don't, and it just like you were saying is every now and then if I get really hungry throughout the day, I may get something when I've got the money to do it or whatever. I may get a little hamburger or something like that from a gas station or whatever. But rarely am I eating anything during the day. I have one meal a day, and that's dinner time.
Wow. I don't see how you do it. I mean, I have at least 2 cups a day, but I'm usually done with that first cup by, let's say I get to work around 7 o'clock, sometimes a little bit earlier. And I'm usually done with that cup of coffee by, probably 8:30. And it's a to-go mug. It's not like it's a small cup. So, and then I go and fill that back up in the office. Not completely fill it up,
You
yeah.
Yeah, shoot, it's getting cold enough now that I'll have to start bringing the thermos so I can drink a full pot every day.
There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to do it.
Heck
Got
yeah.
me some.
All right, well, let's get this show started, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Fearless.
Chase.
Bold.
Following.
Courageous.
Search. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Marshall.
And this is
Undaunted
Pursuit. Hey guys, and welcome back to Undaunted Pursuit podcast. I'm joined by me, Aaron, and Marshall. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get into this, I suppose.
I think so. What's going on, guys? It's been a minute since I've been on
heck,
here.
it was, oh, man, yeah. Yeah, you decided to run off to, what was it, Fort Worth? I think that's what I told Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had some training in Fort Worth last week, and I brought my computer and stuff to do the podcast, but unfortunately, the Wi-Fi in the hotel was not sufficient enough to get me through a podcast. So I had to run off and leave. And you would think that in the middle of Fort Worth, in the big city, that the Wi-Fi would be fantastic, but it's horrible.
You'd think they'd have some good Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah. Nope, not that free stuff.
Oh man, I've been thinking of stuff all day of what we wanted to kind of talk about. I was kind of cramming a little bit just before we started this thing, and but that's beside the point. This weekend, it started off Saturday morning. I took my oldest out hunting, and we had a doe walk up on us, and I was like, okay, well, she's in range, and get lined up. And of course, the first these two stories that I'm about to tell, we're whispering, of course, but there's a whole lot of movement, and there's, but luckily we're hidden enough that I can talk to him, and he's, so this doe walks up. Anyway, she gets within probably, I don't know, 50 yards, and she's looking right at us. And I'm like, I'm like, all right, are you gonna take the shot or not? And he's like, I don't know, I can't find her in the scope. I was like, all right. So I reach over, I adjust the scope for him, I zoom it out. I was like, find her in the scope, and he found her, and I was like, all right, let me zoom her back in. And now she's really looking at us, and I'm holding my gun up, and I was like, all right, I have a bead on her. I was like, but I really want you to take a shot. So he's like, well, I can't find her again. I was like, well, get her found. Let's get this done. And he's like, I can't. I'm shaking too much. And I was like, all right, right. Just calm down, calm down, and then put it right on her. She's facing us now, and she's giving us a little stomp because she can't figure out what we are. And I was like, just put it right on her chest. And he finally gets it. He finally gets it lined up, gets it on her chest, and as he gets ready to take it off of safety, and she just kind of trots down the hill. And it's like, all right, well, that's okay, that's all right, you know. He's like, man, he's like, I was shaking so bad. I was like, yeah. I was like, I still get that way even with does. It doesn't matter if it has to do with getting food on the table. I get excited about it, and so that was a good opportunity. So we went out Sunday night, and we had sat around in a bunch of different places throughout the field, and he was like, we heard the wind was in our favor, blowing right in our face, which is what you want, because I
Mhm.
am, as I've gotten older and hunted more, I've gotten way out of the gimmick of cover scents and everything like that, because that's just it's silly nonsense to me. I haven't, generally I see plenty of stuff. I play the wind more than I like to put any of these silly cover scents on, and I've seen. It's been my experience. I have seen less deer with cover scents on and doing all that mumbo jumbo of washing your clothes in a special detergent and all that. I don't worry about that. I wash my clothes in the washer with regular detergent, and and only when they really get real badly stained do I really wash them through the season. But anyway, that's kind of gross, but um so anyway, the wind is in our favor. It's blowing in our face all day, but yet we're hearing does just blowing like crazy. So I'm like, well, has the rut started? Because it finally turned cold on us, and it's been awfully chilly. And so I was like, man, maybe the rut did finally get underway. I was like, well, let's get up and I got tired of listening to these does blowing. So I was like, let's get up and let's just kind of ease our way over that way and see what the heck they're doing over there. They're screwing around. And just as we're getting ready to get up, these three deer walk. They're kind of at a fast walk down the hill. And I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, Wyatt, get down. Here they come. Can you see them? And so I was like, you watch them. It's getting close to 5 o'clock at this time. So I'm texting Ashley. I was like, it's like 4:30, 4:40. I'm like, gonna be later than 5 o'clock, because I told Ashley that I'd be in at 5. I was like, gonna be later than 5 o'clock. We're watching deer. And then he's like, okay, I lost them. And I was like, all right, that's fine. They're gonna jump the fence, and then generally they'll come right towards us. So anyway, first doe comes in. We're trying to find. I stand up just a little bit, and they're right there in front of us, but within 100 yards. And uh, she comes. I was like, I had told them earlier because I had ranged everything, and I said, if they come between this bush and us, that's 100 yards. Put the bullseye. Put the crosshairs right on them. Don't aim high. Just aim right on them. And so this doe comes walking in, and he's trying to get on her, and I'm kind of sitting there with my gun in my lap watching him, and he's all over the place trying to search and stuff. I was like, all right, let me zoom you out. And I zoomed him out. Can you find her? No, I can't find her. And I was like, all right, well, let me just zoom me back in a little bit. I zoomed him in about halfway, and she kind of disappeared for a second. And we were looking around for the other ones, and it's like, oh well, heck, shoot this one. This one's closer to us. He's like, all right, I'll get on him. All right. Well, at the time we didn't know it was a buck. I was like, all right, you on it? He's like, I can't hold the gun up any longer. It's getting too heavy. So at this point, he's held this gun up for so long, taking the safety on and off. And long story, even long to shorten up the story, he makes the shot, and he shoots his first buck. So proud dad right here. When I was with him
That's
on
awesome.
his first ever deer and small buck. You know, it was a little spike with some little kickers, and it was awesome. I wasn't about to let it get away, so as soon as he shot, I'm watching him. As soon as he shot, I shot him as well because I didn't want this thing running. We're hunting on the edge in this field on the edge of a canyon, so it's like no way. I don't want you running any further. So I take a security shot, you know, and it all worked out. But he was tickled pink.
That's awesome. Man, congrats on that one. That's all exciting.
Heck yeah! I know it.
Well, my weekend wasn't as exciting as yours, but it was fun. We went to a corn maze nearby and went through the corn maze and played some games and just different stuff they had around there. And we weren't there for too terribly long. I get bored quickly, and so we go through the corn maze, which
Mm-hmm.
probably didn't take, I don't know, it took maybe like 20, 30 minutes maybe to get through it roughly. Um, and then we played some games on the property and stuff. Just my wife and I. And then after that, we went ahead and went. And my wife was like, oh, "I kind of wanted to stay longer," and I'm like, I'm bored. Let's move on." So anyway, we moved on and went and just kind of drove around and stuff. But about 2 weeks ago, yeah, 2 weeks back, we went to the Texas State Fair with my wife and her family, and that was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing that. Got to spend time with the
This late?
family and just
Well, I guess it would.
it. What?
I guess it would be a little late for a fair if it was two
Well,
weeks ago, right?
yeah, it goes on for the majority of October.
Oh wow,
Yeah, which that's the first time I've been to the
that's
state
cool.
fair in several years. So it was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. No, you'll learn to like those corn mazes and pumpkin patches, and they're a good time. We've always had a good time at them.
Yeah, no, it was good. We went to one a few years back. Um, I think it was for my birthday. We went to one, and it was a good time. Like we really enjoy them. I just get I guess my ADD kicks in. I get bored. I'm ready to jump on to the next thing. But we enjoy them.
Well, you could have gone on a hayride.
See, she said that there's one here in town somewhere, and we might do that next weekend. It's something you can do at night. I hear it's a pretty neat thing to go to, so we may go visit that next weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh, come on. This stinking computer. Man, I need a new computer so bad. I know we've been
You and me
over this
both.
before, but geez. Hold on a second. Hey. No, is mommy home yet? No. No. Okay. No, no more snack. Oh, watch out. Watch
Hi,
out.
Mr. Marshall.
Hi.
Mr. Marshall.
He says hi.
Hi.
Is your movie over? No.
No.
Okay. Hey, you're not going out the front door, are you?
No.
Okay.
Going back.
Back door. Okay, you guys go sit down. Don't touch anything. Okay. All right. Cute little babies.
They are. They're adorable.
I know it.
So
They wanted another snack. I mean, I guess we're all starving.
I bet what see it's what 5:30 your
Yeah.
time, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's about dinner
But
time.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the reason they're here, the reason that they're, I have just the two of them right now, is because let's see, the boys went to Rejoice Kids. It's one of the local churches, not the church that we go to, but one of the other local churches. I think it's the Nazarene church. They do this thing. The kids love it. The two olders love it,
Mm-hmm.
and so they've been there since this afternoon. doing what they do there, which is good. He's Wyatt had called up Ashley and was like, "Hey, are you picking us up for this thing, or are we walking?" And she's like, "No, just hold on, I'll be right there." And so they love it that much. Like I said, it's called Rejoice Kids. So it must be a really good program. But anyway,
how,
so then
how old
go
is
ahead.
what? How old
He's
is what?
11.
So if an 11-year-old is willing to walk to a church event, it must be good. It must be real good.
Yeah, 11-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Wow. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, they're doing that, and Logan and Hunter are doing gymnastics, but Hunter is not doing gymnastics tonight. Logan is, because the two olders, Austin and Wyatt, they played football, so we didn't necessarily have the time or the money to run them hour and a half away. To Logan really wants to do karate, but so we're like, oh man, we felt really bad. And it's like, well, hey, why don't you get into this? It'll limber you up. It'll, you can, a boy can learn a lot of stuff from gymnastics. Hunter loves it because he's just a little flipper. That dude will just do all kinds of little stunts in the living room. So, um, yeah, so Logan's doing that tonight. So it never stops. It's always so busy.
You get kids all over town.
I know it. Luckily, football ended, and we ended on a high note. I think they only lost like 2 of the games that they played,
Wow.
so they won. Yeah, that is. I'd say
That's
aside from wrestling, football is where it's at for them kids too.
that's a lot better than our high school record.
Yeah, right. We it seems like we never won a game.
No, very rarely. It's kind of
What
sad.
position were you? What
I
what
played.
position were you again? I can't ever remember.
I bounced around, but I was on special teams. But I mainly played middle linebacker. And when I was younger, I played like safety and
Oh
stuff like
yeah.
that. But as I got older, I realized I really wasn't fast enough to be safety. And then middle linebacker was fun because you just got to hit people all day, and you
Right.
can't complain about that, So, but yeah, linebacker.
I was telling the kids when they were playing that, because who was it? Which was it, Austin? Because Wyatt throughout the whole season played. Um, he was tackle. He was like a left tackle, I think, on the offensive line, and then he generally stayed there. Austin jumped around. He played. He played both the boys were in almost the whole stinking game. And so they played both offense, defense. But I think Austin was a center, and I was telling them, I was like, "Oh heck, I was a center,"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
"We always had a special bond with as a center, you have a special bond with the stinking quarterback,
Oh yeah.
because
Yeah.
of course you get real personal there."
you, you get up close and personal.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I was telling them, I was like, yeah, uh, so the quarterback, of course, we won't say his name here. If you're listening, you know who you are. But he would, we'd be losing, which was a lot. And he would get so mad. He'd walk up to me, and I'd already be set. And so I'd already be holding the ball, and he'd walk up and he'd just haul off and just smack me across the butt. And he's like, "Everybody down!" And this happened a lot. So I got spanked a lot when I was in high school
That's funny.
as a center.
Yeah. Yep. That's funny. Good times.
Oh, I know it. I know it. Well, I guess we're already something like 15, 20 minutes into this, so I guess we better get on with what we're going to talk about. Now, I wanted to say, Marshall, that um, we've always talked about on this podcast about if somebody is a new believer, then where do you start? Where do you learn how to where do you learn about Jesus? And that's in the Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here lately, I've been kind of led to start reading in my personal time, Luke, and of course, me and my wife are reading it together, and which is also I also want to point that out as well, which is a good thing that if you and your spouse are not spending time in God's Word together, let me tell you, it is life changing. It is life changing, and it not only leads to a healthy relationship between you and your wife, but also a good healthy relationship between you and God. And you can hammer out you can bounce things off of, which I do on a regular basis with Ashley. It's like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think this means? Whatever. So anyway, long story short, um we're going to start in between guests. We have guests coming up. We're going to start studying the Gospel of Luke. And it kind of stands out to me that from what I've been reading, Luke is a historian, and I wondered why I liked it, because why I liked Luke and the way he explains things. There's some things he kind of covers real quickly or just kind of blases over, but um, for the most part, the way he words things, the way he explains things, is I like it because I like history, and he does tend to put a little bit more detail into things. As so you have Matthew, where we start off in Matthew. He was a tax collector, okay, and so you can speculate he was a learned individual, and then Mark ends up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marshall. Is he was kind of a uh, oh man, was he a protege? I might be screwing up my words here, but a protege to Paul. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. That's something I have to check up on.
Or like an assistant to Paul or something like that. So it'd be, I think that's what it was.
Well,
Let me see if it's in my study Bible here.
here, I mean, of course, the author of Mark is John Mark, which he was a disciple, or he wasn't one of the 12
Right.
disciples, but he accompanied Paul on his first missionary journey.
And going back to Matthew being the way he's a schooled individual, he was a tax collector and everything, dealt with all this money and everything. He's detail oriented. So if you want to find another place to start, Matthew is another good one because he does go into other details. And we have done a Matthew study, me and you, Marshall, correct? With one of our guests, with Zach, and
Yeah.
which he'll be on here in the very near future, I hope. So yeah, it says in mine, in my study Bible here, that Peter was Mark's primary source of information. So yeah, but anyway, that's beside the point. If you're a new believer, wouldn't you say, Marshall, that you start in the Gospels? And of course, I know we're not working our way through Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. We're going to start in Luke because that's kind of where I'm feeling led to kind of go. And like I said, we may not. It's not going to be a sequential amount of episodes, but we'll cover it as we have our little free time or as we don't have guests. So
Yeah, no, I think the Gospels are a great place to
now
start.
Luke,
And
it is, and I think it's we've hit a time that we can start kind of getting into a full book, and
yeah.
plus there's several things there's several really decent uh, topics of discussion as we get into even Luke here.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, for today we'll cover chapter 1. But I wanted to also bring up, so Luke is he is also a physician and a Gentile, which makes it
Yeah,
even more incredible
I
that
just read that.
you know
I had no idea that he was a doctor. I had absolutely no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, we're reading some. It's comes as no surprise that that I would like the way it's written. I would assume,
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Chapter 1, Luke chapter 1. Since and I'm going to read this out of my amplified version. Okay, so it like I said, we've been through this before. It gets wordy, but I like it because it adds because those Hebrew words, the where it was translated from, mean different things. So this is how he starts out in Luke. Since, as is well known, many have undertaken to compile an orderly account of the things which have been fulfilled among us by God, exactly as they were handed down to us by those with personal experience who, from the beginning of Christ's ministry, were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, that is, of the teaching concerning salvation through the faith of Christ. So what Luke is saying here, that why can't I hear myself? Maybe I'm just let me back this mic off. Maybe I'm just speaking too loud.
I don't know. That's weird.
There. So what we can gather from these first couple of verses is that he he's making a statement to say that he's not the first one to write this narrative of Jesus, to write it about Jesus's life. And then when he says, let's see here, exactly as they were handed down to us, whom from the beginning of Christ's ministry were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. So he's suggesting that it is suggesting that he was not an eyewitness to those events, but he had access from somewhere to know these events.
Mm-hmm.
So, verse 3. It seemed fitting for me as well, so I have decided, after having carefully searched out and investigated all the events accurately from the very beginning, to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus. Now,
Theophilus.
Marshall, do we know anything of Theophilus? Okay, thank you. Do we know anything about him?
Theophilus?
Yeah.
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't. Do you?
No, I kind of was trying to look it up.
Let me see. Let me see if I can find something. Oh, Theophilus.
I was trying to look it up before the thing because I don't know the earliest record of Theophilus is Theola. Man, what a tongue twister. Okay, of Antioch, who was an early Christian patriarch, a second century Syrian bishop who sought to promote a moralistic form of Christianity and wrote around 180 to 185 AD. I don't know that it's completely necessary to do a deep dive into who he is, but obviously that's who Luke is writing this to,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. It doesn't really identify in the Bible who he is according to what I'm reading here. But the name Theophilus means loved by God, but carries the
Oh,
idea
interesting.
of friend of God. Yeah. So this has led some to believe that Theophilus is just a generic title that applies to all Christians. However, in the
Well, see,
context, yeah, go
I
ahead.
had thought that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had thought that too. It kind of makes it sound like that as well. That it
Mm-hmm.
may have been just a title, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so um so in my study Bible here, and this is concerning. Okay, so let's read verse 4 real quick, so that you may know the exact truth about the things you have been taught. That is the history and doctrine of the faith. So now, if you look in the study Bible, Theophilus was likely a young Gentile believer. He not only needed to know the truth and accuracy of what the church taught, but he also needed to be reassured. He might well have been wondering what he, as a Gentile, was doing in a movement which was originally Jewish.
Hmm. Yeah, it says here that there's theories that he may have been a Roman officer, a high-ranking official in the Roman government, or possibly a wealthy and influential man in the city of Antioch. These are all just
Okay. All right. Well, there
theories.
we go. That's
Yeah.
It's just theories. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the reason why we're going through Luke, but
No.
just I guess a little
Just a
bit
side
of
note.
context as to who he's writing to. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
side note. So this is what I thought was cool about Luke's the Gospel of Luke was that he goes into more detail in the birth of John the Baptist, and that's where we're heading to in verse 5 here. In the days of Herod, the great king of Judea, there was a certain priest whose name was Zacharias of the division of Abijah, if I'm saying that correctly. His wife was a descendant of Aaron, the first high priest of Israel, and her name was Elizabeth. They were both righteous, approved in the sight of God, walking blamelessly in the commandments and requirements of the Lord, but they were childless because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both far advanced in years. So I don't know. It doesn't say how old they actually were,
No.
you know.
But they were beyond their childbirthing
But here's
years.
I know it. But what I think is funny though is these, and not maybe not at this time, but you see this throughout the Old Testament too, that um, they thought that they were really old, but yet you had people that were living till they were 900 years old, 800 years old,
Oh
you
yeah.
know,
So that was young probably back then.
right? And, like 100 years old would be still a teenager, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm only
So
100.
anyway, so here we see, right. So here we see Elizabeth and Zacharias, and Elizabeth is barren, and we're gonna starting off here at 8. This is where I started getting really interested, because now it happened while Zacharias was serving as priest before God in the appointed order of his priestly division. As was the custom of the priesthood, he was chosen by lot to enter the sanctuary of the temple of the Lord and burn incense on the altar of incense. And all the congregation was praying outside in the court of the temple at the hour of the incense offering. And an angel of the Lord appeared to him standing to the right of the altar of incense. When Zacharias saw the angel, he was troubled and overcome with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zacharias, because your petition in prayer was heard, and your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will name him John. You will have great joy and delight, and many will rejoice over his birth, for he will be great and distinguished in the sight of the Lord, and will never drink wine or liquor, and he will be filled with and empowered to act by the Holy Spirit while still in his mother's womb." I'm going to stop right there. That just goes to show how powerful the Holy Spirit is. That even in his mother's womb,
Yeah.
he will be empowered by the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah. Hey, when God's got
And
a
yet,
plan, He's got a
yet,
plan. Nothing's gonna stop Him.
right? I was going to say, and yet another argument for being pro-life, if we want to get on that bag, you know.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say in Luke here, he will turn many of the sons of Israel back from sin to love and serve the Lord their God. It is he who will go as a forerunner before him in the spirit and power of Elijah. So that kind of, you'll see this a lot throughout the Gospels, that John the Baptist, it's said in the prophecies that Elijah, they were always looking for Elijah coming back, and that's what John the Baptist was representing, or was. There's some that would say that he was that he was Elijah, that this was the prophecy fulfilled. I mean, this is what had to happen for the prophecy to be fulfilled. So to turn the hearts and fathers, to turn the hearts of the fathers back to the children, and the disobedient to the attitude of the righteous, which is to seek and submit to the will of God, in order to make ready a people perfectly prepared spiritually and morally for the Lord. And this is funny. Zacharias said to the angel, "How will I be certain of this? For I am an old man, and my wife is advanced in age." The angel replied to him and said, "I am Gabriel. I stand and minister in the very presence of God, and I have been sent by him to speak to you and bring you this good news. Listen carefully. You will be continually silent and unable to speak until the day when these things take place, because you did not believe what I told you. But my words will be fulfilled at their proper time.
I like that. When
Now,
that I was reading that today or listening to it, and I was like, I mean, think about it. For I guess 9 months from the beginning of you know her beginning her pregnancy to the end, it's a full 9 months. So I mean, he couldn't say anything for 9 months. I mean, that's crazy. He had to be silent because he didn't believe.
right, but I thought that was funny because the way he makes it sound in here, uh, is like, who wouldn't ask the question? It's like, are you, I don't know. Maybe we weren't there, so maybe he was very doubtful, and of course, his heart wasn't in the right place. But he's like, what one of us wouldn't be like, hey, I'm awfully old. If that doesn't that doesn't jive, and then he's like,
Well,
and this,
yeah.
it's not like he continually did this, but it doesn't jive to what you're thinking. And then he's like, hey, no, since you don't believe, you're going to be mute for the next 9 months.
Yeah, it's like what? I'm sorry for asking questions. My bad.
I, I just wanted a little clarity on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's your clarity. Don't speak. Okay.
God gave Gabriel a little bit too much authority.
I mean, who are we to question? But because it does come full circle later on in the chapter.
Yeah.
Well, later on, it comes full circle because he does speak at the right moment. But I had to laugh, and I laughed to myself a little bit when I was reading through this initially. I was like, man, he simply asked a question that what human wouldn't at whatever, say they were at 90 years old or 80 years old, whatever. It's like, can this really work out? you know
I guess don't ever question God. If an angel shows up at your front porch, just go along with it.
Yeah, no kidding. So here we are. Gabriel's telling him, "My words will be fulfilled at their proper time." So the people outside the court were waiting for Zacharias and were wondering about his long delay in the temple. But when he did come out, he was unable to speak to them. They realized that he had seen a vision in the temple, and he kept making signs to them and remained mute. Boy, how wouldn't? So you're charged with, yeah, all eyes on you when you go into this temple. I kind of makes me wonder, how did they know because of his long delay? Did they just assume that he saw a vision? I don't know. Hold on a second. All right, I'm back. Bye. All right, so let's get this done here. But so anyway, so they obviously knew that he was making signs to him when he came out. So when his time of priestly service was finished, he returned to his home. Now, after his wife Elizabeth became pregnant, and for 5 months she secluded herself completely, saying, "This is how the Lord has dealt with me in the days when he looked with favor on me to take away my disgrace among men." I've said this before. If you remember when we were talking about with Leanne Clifton, and we were talking about the being pro-life and against abortion and all that. This is how people saw that women, especially, saw they were disgraced if they couldn't have kids. They thought that God had cursed them because they couldn't have kids. That's why they wanted kids so bad during that time, that it was a curse.
Right.
So that's what she's saying here, is that it doesn't, it sounds more of like a praise, like she is, like this is more of like a like she's happy that that God is taking away, the Lord is taking away her disgrace among men.
Yeah.
So now, since John the Baptist has to be a forerunner to Jesus. We're going to see as we move on here that Elizabeth is 6 months along when Gabriel ends up showing up to Mary. And so now in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, a descendant of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And coming to her, the angel said, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was greatly perplexed at what he had said, and kept carefully considering what kind of greeting this was. So she was like, "Hey, what is?" It kind of makes you wonder um, how he showed up. It was this like, how nowadays you see like movies portray angels in this bright light. How did how did Gabriel show up to Mary?
Yeah.
Because she's
Well,
she's
I
trying to
mean, an
figure
angel.
out, did he look like a, what's that?
No, I was saying. I mean, you think about it, an angel showing up out of nowhere like that. I mean, that's gonna catch anybody off guard.
Right. Did he show up out of nowhere, or did he like knock on the door and say, hey Mary, hey, greetings, favored one? Of course she'd be. Hey, either way, he showed up out of nowhere, and he's like, uh, she's sitting there thinking, is this what are you here to tell me about? What's going on here?
Yeah.
So the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Listen carefully. You will conceive in your womb and give birth to a son, and you shall name him Jesus. He will be great and eminent, and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob, which is Israel, forever, and his kingdom there shall be no end." Mary said to the angel, "How will this be, since I am a virgin and I have no intimacy with any man?" The angel replied to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you like a cloud. For that reason, the holy, pure, and sinless child shall be called the Son of God. And listen, even to your relative Elizabeth, who has also conceived a son in her old age, and she who is called barren is now in her 6th month. For with God nothing is or ever shall be impossible."
Hmm.
I like that statement there. They actually, you take that, you take both statements from verse 33 and the and verse 37, and his kingdom there shall be no end, for with God nothing is or ever shall be impossible.
I like this right there where it says that the Son of God, or it says, even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her old age, and she who was said to be barren is in her 6 months. So, to me, that means something a little different because I know people personally who have been trying to have kids for years and years and years and spent thousands upon thousands of dollars to try to have kids and have had no luck, and they're Christian individuals. But to see this promise and
Mm,
to hear something like that, for nothing is impossible with God, and to see that reminder is an encouraging thing, especially for people who are going through something like that. Like, because in this world we live in, people always say, "Oh, you're getting old. You're getting old. You better, blah blah blah." And they're really, hard on you and push you. Well, yeah, age does matter, but when it comes to God and His plan for
mm,
your life, if He wants you to have a child when you're older, then you'll have a child when you're older, and you don't have to worry about whether or not it'll work. He'll work things out the way He wants it to work out.
exactly. His power is limitless,
Yeah.
completely limitless.
Amen.
So I was just reading. Unlike, I couldn't find anything in the little sub notes on Zachariah's unbelief, which is why he was muted. But it does say here, when she asks, "How will this be?" It does say in these little sub notes that Mary did not ask for a sign.
Yeah.
So the remark, it says, "So this remark does not reflect unbelief. She accepts her role without question," in verse 38, and thus is a model of faith. Even though she does not fully understand everything, the work of God in Mary introduces something unknown before or after the birth into the human race of one, capitalized, who is both God and man.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes. It comes to full fruition, however you say it. It comes full circle here in verse 38 there, where she says, "Then Mary said, 'Behold, I am the servant of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word.' And the angel left her."
Yeah.
I don't know that maybe we may have to break up this chapter 1, because chapter 1 is awfully long. We're getting into what Luke is trying to do is describe all the events leading up to Jesus' birth. I mean, we're starting with the whole life of Jesus here,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
It's gonna take some time.
Maybe we'll just go through, because I kind of wanted to get into this tonight real quick before we get done here. When Mary visits Elizabeth, because I thought it was really cool how this plays out. So in verse 39 of chapter 1 in Luke, now at this time Mary arose and hurried to the hill country, to a city of Judea, and she entered the house of Zacharias and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, her baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit and empowered by him. Isn't that something? Like,
That's
just
crazy.
hearing Mary's voice, the baby, John the Baptist
Yeah.
leaped in her womb.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
wild.
that goes to continually describe God's power and the power of the Holy Spirit. She exclaimed loudly, "Blessed, worthy to be praised, are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And how has it happened to me that the mother of my Lord would come to me? For behold, when the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. And blessed, spiritually fortunate, and favored by God, is she who believed and confidently trusted that there would be a fulfillment of the things that were spoken to her by the angel sent from the Lord."
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to leave that there for tonight. And we'll get to this. We'll get to the rest of chapter 1, either next week or the week after. But yeah, I think going through this and really examining Jesus's life and
Mm-hmm.
how things progressed from the time that Mary found out and Elizabeth found out, and it's just, it comes as no surprise, the power and the will of God.
Oh yeah.
His will is going to be done. You know.
Did it say? Now I know that Elizabeth is a relative to Mary. Did it say what relative she was?
Um.
Like, was she a aunt,
Yes, I think.
a cousin, sister?
Yes. Hold on, just a second here. I'm looking here. Oh no, it just says even your relative Elizabeth. Okay, hold
Yeah.
on a second. Let's look in some of the other gospels. Maybe Matthew covered that. Let's see.
So clearly, in case people don't know that John and Jesus have some relation there. If Mary and Elizabeth are related, there's some sort of relation there. Wouldn't there be?
Oh yeah, there was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So,
there was, and it
which is kind of cool.
yeah, there was. I think they were cousins. I think they were
Yeah,
cousins.
yeah. I mean, imagine being, Jesus' cousin. Yeah, she's just my cuz, or however the relation was.
Right. I'm trying to find that, but I cannot. Luke starts off pretty much after. It just seems like it. Luke tells more of the story behind John the Baptist being born and the angel, because like if you look back at Mark, he picks up at John the Baptist in the wilderness. And you look at Matthew, it's you're going to find the same story, but of course, because it's written by several different people,
Right.
um, all of it's going to jive and fit together. It's the same story, but it's different perspectives,
Right.
you know. And Luke, being who he was, is just a little bit more in depth as far as like being a historian. Of course, he wants that back. He wants to go back and describe all that,
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So we'll get into this a little bit further when we'll start in verse 46 next week if we don't have a guest. If we do, then it'll be the week after that. But yeah. Anyway, so that's that. Like I said, I want to kind of get into this. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit more context for you. Hopefully, we'll try and get a little bit more deeper as we move through this book of Luke.
Right.
But I think I'm kind of excited about it. I'm gonna keep. I'm learning stuff just as much
I am too.
as anybody else listening to this.
Definitely.
And so, I mean, there's always questions that I have that I'll have to bounce it off of you. But so, well, I think we have went on long enough, Marshall.
It's been a minute.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all your support, and we look to see you here next week on Undaunted Pursuit. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you later.
Hey guys, and thank you for listening to Undaunted Pursuit Podcast. Give us a good rating on iTunes, good review, leave us 5 stars, and follow us on YouTube. Click that subscription bell. Keep up to date with the newest episodes.
And don't forget to follow us on other social media outlets such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to email us at undauntedpursuit@gmail.com and go to our website at undauntedpursuit.podbean.com.
And don't forget, if you like what you're hearing, go to Patreon, follow us on Patreon, subscribe to our channel there. There's a small tier for donations. Any help, any support, this podcast is made possible by you, the patron. We thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Pour out your spirit, humble the proud. Renew our minds. Soften our hearts, give sight to the blind. Father, Spirit, and Son, you are the only one who can save us from what we've become. You're the only one. You're the only one. Lord, heal our scars. Hear the prayers of believers. Show me you are. Lift up our eyes to you. Let us be vessels for your truth. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. the only Father, Spirit, and Son. You are the only one who can save.